Hello and welcome to the Hardy Brain, the show that takes athletic, introverted entrepreneurs and leaders and transforms them into ironclad brain performers. I'm your host, Dr. David Hardy. And today on our show, we've got another amazing guest. He is the co-founder at Neuronic. He is a thought leader in the entrepreneurial space, and he is on a mission to make brain health accessible, measurable, and empowering at every stage of life. Welcome to the show, Liam Pingree. How you doing today?
Hey, thanks, Dr. Hardy. It's great to be on your show, and I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So you've got an amazing product out there, and it's in the healing light space. So red light therapies are getting a lot more attention. Uh, Also known scientifically as biophotomodulation. What is that, and why is this so powerful?
Great question. So in the simplest of ways to explain this, photobiomodulation, photo meaning light, bio, your biology, and then modulation, the change of, so light change in your biology. So it's light therapy is what people most commonly know. And when people think of light therapy, they're typically thinking this red glowing light that they see emitted from like face masks, because that is the popular trend right now on Instagram, on TikTok, everything like that. What we do is actually different. It's close to it, but it's near infrared light. So typically with light, you have a spectrum. You have your different colored light, then you have your red, you have your near infrared, and then your far infrared. So we're sitting in that near infrared spectrum, which is about 1070 nanometers. And what this light is able to do, essentially, is penetrate through the skull, through the hair. A lot of it's absorbed by the hair, by the way, but it penetrates deep enough that it's actually reacting and helping stimulate the mitochondria to produce more ATP. ATP being the energy that your body and brain need to function at its best. So essentially, that's what photobiomodulation or light therapy is.
Now, this is going through the skull. Light is penetrating bone and going into the brain, if I'm hearing you correctly on this.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, how deep does it go?
It depends on the wavelength you use, and this is the thing, but about a couple of inches, typically it's reaching into the actual brain, and it's reacting within the cells. We have photon receptors, and so it's able to capture that light. And I think the easiest way to maybe explain it, or for people to understand, is when you think about the planet and how everything grows, plants, trees, life, it's all from sun, or not all, but mostly from sunlight and energy that's produced. 49% of the sunlight is actually near infrared light. And then if you think about like a plant, it has the receptors and it's absorbing that light. Photosynthesis happens. They're getting the energy and it's helping them grow further and further and becoming bigger, stronger plants. It's a similar concept, but in humans.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's really amazing to think that, energy, if we dive down to it's about flow of electrons. And basically, light is energy, electrons, and our cells need this. And the old model that we get it only from food or from calories is just incomplete. And
I think we probably think about that though because it's a physical thing. So you see something in front and you're like, okay, there's energy there. Okay, let me consume that. And now I have energy. But in reality, we don't tend to believe in things we cannot see. And light is one of those things. We obviously do with our eyes. That's how like they operate. But actually, you don't see the kind of invisible light, the near infrared going into your brain and actually penetrating, doing all these things. It's a natural kind of phenomenon. And in a way, it feels like it's a bit of magic.
Right. Yeah. Well, I remember looking up the absorption rates for different amino acids, which are like the building blocks for proteins and for neurotransmitters. And one that came up was UV light. That the very rich like phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, so things for serotonin, for dopamine, absorb UV light. And that's part of it. Like there's this whole world of hacking different frequencies of light is just fascinating. And we look at it as like this energy perspective, but two, it's also a communication system in the body, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think actually when you said UV light, I wasn't thinking of it in that kind of amino acid pool. I was thinking actually of how it's used to sterilize medical
Yes.
equipment and different rooms. I remember a few years ago, I did this kind of NASA space application challenge. And what we had to do was build a concept of how we would build like a UV filter for the International Space Station to sterilize equipment out in space. And we built this kind of like, homemade device that used UV light actually to target and kill off like the different bacterias. So it's really interesting that you say that, and it's fascinating that it can have so many different like applications, not just like charging the brain or helping boost the body.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we went into like plants and theirs. And I did another podcast with an individual, Hubert Lau, who's hacking different frequencies of light for vertical farming. And they brought the energy supply down like by, something ridiculous, like almost half the energy to grow a plant now. So
That's
like this is
incredible.
this is starting to balloon and take off. And of course, I'm in the brain space, so I want more information on the brain. Like, what are you finding with near infrared? Because I know it's also a healing, like for tissue wounds, and used in that perspective. So, what are
Yeah.
you finding with brain tissue then, and that penetration? Like, actually, 2 inches in the
This
skull is into the head is a good depth. Like, that's a lot of brain mass it's helping.
it is, and the history really of near infrared light or light therapy goes back to space actually in NASA, and they used it originally for plant growth on the International Space Station. Then I
Huh.
believe an astronaut got wounded, and they used it actually to help with his wound recovery. So then they found out, hey, this could actually be used for accelerated wound recovery, and it further developed, and that was back in 1970. Come forward to where we are today, a lot more application has been put on the brain. We had whole body, we had panels for quite a while, but I think because of the brain is unknown, it's a bit scary. People often don't like just want to do anything to their brain. So the
Right.
field has been slower to kind of move forward there. But now in the last couple of years, like the explosion of publications on the NIH PubMed database has gone from like a few thousand to now over 10,000 just for the search term photobiomodulation. And I think it's
Right.
incredible to see. When we first started this company, the original idea came from a guy that was wearing a bucket on his head. He had seen a study on mice and he thought, hey, I can help with my Parkinson's if I do this. So the original thought was memory issues, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, right?
Right.
We built the device, we have it on market, and then we have people, clinicians, researchers, enthusiasts, people struggling with all sorts of different conditions. Hey, do you think this would work for XYZ? And they would show us like a research paper. And we've obviously scoured the internet and seen all the research on different conditions and topics. But then they would buy the device and take the risk, if you will, because not everything's been tried and tested. And people are saying, hey, this has helped my kid with autism. Hey, this is helping me sleep better. Hey, this is now I'm finding really good for patients with PTSD. And we've gone across like an array of different like use cases now when we've seen photobiomodulation, not just with our device, but like all the different photobiomodulation devices typically help them with so many different conditions. And the frustrating part right now in the industry, I believe, is we don't have a large enough study where you have a big enough sample size to say it's statistically significant to have FDA approval for, hey, this can actually cure Alzheimer's. So right now we can see that research is suggesting that it's going to help with certain things and alleviate some of the symptoms, but we still can't make claims or say it's a medical device that can like cure anything or treat anything. So this is the big effort, and this is what we're working on. Other people and companies are working on it too. But it's going to take quite a village, I think, to get us over the line and get that approval.
Right. Absolutely. And of course, that's kind of the business and research side of things, which is, oh, geez, such a regulated and heavy industry. But the biggest thing that will pop up in all of these is going to be safety. And we're looking at a therapy or modality that is very, very safe, aren't we? Like there's like basically no way we can overstimulate or over over provide light to the brain, is there? Or
Well, interesting topic, and it depends. When you're talking about light therapy, you have laser and you have LED.
yes.
Laser is very collimated, and it can actually heat the tissue because it can get powerful enough. LEDs, on the other hand, would be non-significant risk according to the FDA. And the thing is with the LEDs, yes, there is this, hey, you can't really do much damage, but what we do find is there is a biphasic dose response, meaning you can have too much or too little, and what that will do is just not give you the optimal effect or probably what you're looking for. So we find some people, if they're using it too much, they actually don't see more benefit than to use it, say, twice a day, as opposed to 4 or 5 times a day, or how many times a week. So that's the really interesting part about it. And we don't have all the answers. We're still trying to figure this out. And I think the most exciting thing about what we're doing right now is in the recent months, we've just launched a new device, the Neuronic Lite. And this device can actually connect with an app. And it tells us, okay, what's your goal? What are you seeing improvements in a weekly questionnaire? And then we can track the usage history. So each session that's used, how long it was used for, what pulse rate, what intensity. And with all this data over a serious amount of time, we're going to be able to actually then identify, hey, what is the optimal rate for using it with X reason? What is how many times a week you should be using it? What's the particular protocol you should be using? And when thousands and thousands of people have this helmet, you'll have a huge database to actually look at this and screen everything and take out the outliers.
I love it. And yeah, we to dive deeper into this, like different conditions, they're going to be more or less metabolically compromised. So not being able to produce energy in the cells or deal with it properly. And I always go with the like with any stimulation, the principle that it's more about how often you use something or do something than how long or powerful of a dosage you're doing it for. And I love that you're able to get real time data with this and start to build up on these principles and really dial it in and hone it. Now, there's another application out there that I saw your company's doing, and that's with reading people's brain waves with the photobiomodulation or with the near infrared spectrum. Dive into this. So, like, it fascinates me. What are you seeing with brainwave activity when you're actually providing more energy to the brain?
Great question. So right now we're in the exploratory phase. So just to clarify, our helmet doesn't have any technology in it right now to read anything on the brain. So typically we send clients, or they ask us, can they get the brain map, so the QEEG brain map, and they'll do that and then send us the data, and we can build custom protocols. And what we would like to do in the future is bring this into our device. So last year we funded actually a research project over in Santa Clara University in Silicon Valley. And that project was to put a cap, essentially a QEG 19 channel cap on the head, and then put our device over it. So what we would hopefully be able to do was take the data, feed it into the helmet, and instead of manually creating this protocol, kind of create this closed feedback loop system, and eventually build in an algorithm that would allow us to generate very specific protocols live time for the user to have like optimal effect. It didn't work out so well. Why?
Okay.
Because the data, the artifacts that were coming up on the EEG scan were too large because of the interference with the light, right? So
Right.
what we had to do is kind of go back a step and say, okay, let's do then use the session for the stimulation and get a post scan. And we could see the slight adjustments. It wasn't anything huge per session. And this is something that we needed to kind of like reevaluate and reassess where this project is going to go. We still believe that there's a lot of potential here. So we haven't given up. There's a lot of signs and different studies that show that EEG can pick up on this. So we just need to figure out how we do more of a longitudinal study with it, and how we can actually remove those artifacts that seem to come up. So I think we're nearly there, but it's going to require a bit more funding and a lot
Right.
more time to figure it out.
Yeah, I used to do QEEGs in my clinical practice, and it it is, yeah, like the sensor technology to read the brainwaves usually requires sensors with a lot of gel, and if you don't have those sensors properly placed, it's a nightmare. So I know that
Right.
that technology is coming along, and that you're lightwave wise, you're well ahead of it. um, so yeah, the combination approaches will kind of work well in the future. But two, you can program different quadrants as well, correct?
Yeah, with our other device, the Neuronic 1070, you can program it to target only the front, only the back, the left or the right, or pick a couple of sections and then pulse it at different times, at different intensities. And this allows us to kind of have like a stimulation protocol based on someone's EEG, based on like the neurons firing across the brain. What we see the activity is someone needing to increase the coherence on either side of the brain. And this is what we would do then. So it could be like a 12 hertz this side, followed by a 14 hertz this side, and then reverse it. And this is just a vague example of what could be done. And that's what we would allow with that device. So typically you're looking at a manual version of neurofeedback or priming, I guess,
Mm.
uh, for this, because I wouldn't call it neurofeedback essentially because there's no like feedback loop. It's like very broken down. It's like you get the EEG scan, you do the stimulation. 3 months after, you probably get another EEG scan. Some people do it sooner, but it's quite costly, so not everyone actually does. And that would be the biggest drawback there. And that's probably another point to why this is so crucial that we figure out a way to put this in the device so people buy it once, and instead of having to go to different clinics and get these scans that cost several hundred of dollars, they purchase
Yes.
the device. And I don't know if it's going to cost to run this like system. Maybe it's like a small subscription, but typically then people will have access to their brain, their data on the brain, like whatever score it is, whatever health it's in, and they'll be able to see that using the device every day, stimulate and actually get an understanding of what's going on.
I love that approach. And yeah, the more specific, the better. Like, why stimulate an area that's already overstimulated, where the opposite area that kind of feeds back and forth needs the concentration. But in general, at this point in time, though, if we looked at it, kind of that nutrition model to give the brain more energy and light nutrition,
Right.
has profound effects. And
Yeah.
this has actually been noted like a long time ago, right? Like there's been a Nobel Prize out there, um, on light therapy. Am I correct on that? That
I
this
believe
is
so.
not
Yeah,
a new concept.
Niels Finson, I think, was the guy that actually won the Nobel Prize on it, and that was, gosh, was that 1910? I believe it was. So
Wow.
it's quite some time ago, and I could be wrong there. So don't quote me on that. Maybe we need to fact check it afterwards. But yeah, it was around that
Well,
time.
according to your website, it was 1903. So you're not too
1903.
far off.
Okay, 7 years off. Brilliant. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
But yeah, and that was for skin conditions and tuberculosis.
Right.
So, like, yeah, we go back to treating issues. Like we use that example of UV light killing off
Yeah.
viruses in the environment, but we need different light to actually work our immune system differently and produce different responses. And um,
Yeah.
the brain is one of those organs, though, that it is so metabolically demanding. Like those neurons are turning over so quick, more so than a muscle protein. And
Absolutely. And
we've used laser and stuff to heal muscles and to heal skin and wounds. And they're less metabolically demanding than the brain. And we
right.
need a whole whack of immune cells to get in there. What are some of those implications too? Because yeah, we're stimulating the tissue within like 2 inches, but then there's also, of course, flow with all the like the CSF, the the blood vessels surrounding the brain, all of this. So it goes way farther than just the mitochondria. Am I correct on this as well?
Yeah, it does. And this is where it gets quite technical. Not always in my scope, but definitely like you have the increase of reactive oxygen species,
Right.
which is some people think is bad because you're increasing the stress levels. It's only a short term increase in the stress levels, which then long term have a better effect on your health because when you are exposed to external environments where your stress increases naturally, you're more used to deal with these spike increases. So it's good long term. You also have the lymphatic drainage. This is research that's coming out more recent, and I'm particularly excited about it because the lymphatic drainage system is linked to what some people think is the cause of Alzheimer's because it's the buildup of all the toxins in the brain. So you have the lymphatic, which is your body. The lymphatic is the part of your neck and above connecting to your head. And typically while you sleep, it acts as like a washing machine and removes all those toxins out. And what happens with the light therapy, it actually accelerates this process. Yet to see research saying it's going to put you in a deeper sleep, but some of it is suggesting that it might because of this, and it's giving you that energy and clearing the waste process to actually have a better night's sleep. So that to me is definitely an interesting area of research.
Yeah, definitely. Now you mentioned sleep there. What like hunch do you have? Maybe before sleep, a certain amount of time, or maybe eventually there'll be a cap that isn't too bulky to wear to bed. How do
Right.
you see that side of it evolving as well?
Great question, and something I still don't have a definitive answer on. And that's what probably is most exciting about this space. It's new. We're at the forefront of an exciting
Yes.
time. But some people wear the device before bed. They do a short session, and it helps put them to sleep. It, creates a bit of ease, and they relax more, and they fall asleep. We've had some people saying actually they were wearing the helmet, and that warming sensation, they actually just like fall asleep on the bed without even turning off. It, the timer turned it off, but without turning it off themselves. And other people then have said it's given them too much energy that they can't sleep.
Right.
Our scientific advisory board member, Michael Hamlin, he actually said, well, it increases the melatonin. So, of course, it's going to help the sleep. So, we have conflicting opinions, and certain people react differently. I wouldn't say it's huge either side. It's not like everyone's falling asleep wearing this before bed, and it's not everyone that's seeing so much energy they can't sleep. So I've yet to kind of see some more research on like what's really happening.
Right. And that's a key factor though, is everybody's going for like this big rush or stimulation. And of course the drug model is big for this, that basically they're treating conditions with a sledgehammer. They're really powerfully inhibiting a enzyme protein receptor or something of that nature. And it's very
Right.
powerful and instantaneous kind of feeling or result. Whereas if we're looking at longevity and overall wellness, there's subtle shifts over time that need to be made, or maintenance that needs to go into the system. And you're right. People can't be going to a clinician office daily or multiple times per day to get that. It's just not feasible. And
Exactly.
that's the great thing about these at home products that are starting to show more and more efficacy is, yeah, I recommend this. Go do this, and let's monitor your results. And yeah, there's now a way you can record and track it on your own as well. That gives
Yeah.
both the person at home like some hope they're seeing things happening and they're charting it and realizing, oh yeah, daily I can take effect and make an impact over my own health, and then share it with their clinicians and practitioners as well, and get more of that feedback. I think it's an amazing way to approach things and go after it, is that we can't
Yeah.
be waiting till things are so bad that we need a sledgehammer, or we need to carpet bomb the
Exactly.
system.
And the thing is, what's crazy about this is, if you look at all the trends in recent times, people are leaning so much more into personal wellness and health.
Yes.
wearables. Like you look at Oura Ring, Whoop, the Garmin, Apple Watch. They all have like HRV trackers. They're tracking. They're telling you your like health score, brain age, how quick you're aging, everything like this. And the whole industry is just taken off. So people want to be in control, like you said, of their own health. They want to be able to do stuff at home, use things daily, and see that small increment change and track it over time. And no one does that. No one goes into their clinic unless they have something extremely wrong with them. People want to take control of their life before something gets wrong. So they don't need that sledgehammer to actually come in, fix maybe one part of the problem and shatter other parts of the system to pieces, which
Right.
often happens because, like you said, it's the metabolic reactions. It's like the foundation of everything. So you can't just, shut something off and expect everything else to be fine. It has like long stream consequences.
Absolutely. And people too, they've been told so long to stay out of the sun, and a lot of people react to the sun now, whether it's the toxins in their system or just how the body's being programmed. So this is once again kind of a lower dose but specific for energy in the system. And I think that's important to get across to people as well, that yeah, if you're compromised, this is a good gentle way to nudge the system back into health. And
Yeah,
or on the other side, like you're an entrepreneur, ever been through stress?
it happens at time to time. Yeah. Yeah. And
What have you noticed with yourself then, using your own product here? And that's the
I
great
have
thing
to,
about all these devices and products is we get to try them on ourselves as well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
before we recommend it to people.
That's so true. I use it, I would say, a couple of times a week. Typically, when I'm at home, I'd use it about 3 times a week. So or it's 3 days a week, so it's sometimes twice a day. I have to say, sometimes it gives me clearer thinking, a bit more focus, but I don't know if it's placebo. I've often wondered, hey, what's the real effect of this that I'm feeling? And to me, I put it in a similar bucket as the gym, that you kind of need to just keep doing it, and then you feel
Right.
the effects over time. But unless you're going so like extreme on it, I don't think you're going to see these incredible results. If I had like brain fog, which I did at one stage like 2 years ago, and I put the device on, I said, screw it, I'll just wear the device and see if I can just think clearly. Sure enough, after 5 minutes, it cleared. And for me, that was one of the times when I was like, this is what our end users have been reporting, that it's bringing back memories and clearer thinking. Because before
Right.
that, I'm wearing this device and thinking, I think I have more energy. I think I'm thinking a bit better, but to have a deficit or something kind of wrong, and then for it to be fixed within that short period of time when you're doing nothing else, then you be like, okay, now I know, like, this is exactly what it does. And we do have like event related potential tech that can actually capture this as well and see an increase in cognition, the cognitive processing speed after just one session. But you're not going to feel that either. It's so minor. It's going to be like 12%, I think it was. That is so minor. You're not going to like say, "All right, I'm thinking like this much faster now." So I think it's an interesting subject, and using it for stress or my own personal well-being, I'm not going to feel the same as someone that's like 89 post surgery, maybe delirium, has something going on now with their brain, that's going to benefit from this.
Right. I use the example of athletes on this one though, because yeah, I see this in neuro rehabilitation. So with somebody
Mm-hmm.
who's got a deficit, something going wrong, you can see
Right.
massive changes in a short period of time if you're doing things correctly.
Yeah.
And then in an athlete or peak performer, you're only going to see subtle little changes incrementally. And quite often you need to measure these because they're not hugely profound in the sense because this person is functioning so high already. But
Exactly.
for somebody at that level, you're looking for any little gain you can get, or how to hold on to those gains that you've had and spent decades trying to perform and
Mm-hmm.
at a higher level. That anything that's gonna push that needle or keep that needle where it's at is just so valuable. And I think that's the beauty of this as well, is that even people that are at that pinnacle can still get benefits. But yeah, it does need to be managed and measured. And then too, later on, it's and this is kind of the progression of brain science and brain health, brain capital, is the combination of therapies. That if you're able
Yeah.
to provide more energy at the same time as doing another task that's meant to help the system. And we sort of got in that with the QEEG and neurofeedback. But there's all sorts of other things, from eye movements, complex movements. The combination might also be where things just accelerate and go off of. And that nutrition factor, that energy factor, and I'm using light as nutrition, is such a crucial part of it as well. So once again, I applaud the work you're doing. And how do people find more information about your product, about yourself? And I know you're all over the world. So what are the next steps for our listeners?
So you can find us at neuronic.online. We're at Neuronic on Instagram, Neuronic on YouTube. That's great for educational content and really staying up to date with what we put out. And I think the best thing to do would be to just get on our website, get in touch with us. We have a brilliant support team, and they'll answer any questions that anyone has, whether you're first time hearing about light therapy, this crazy magic, or you're someone that's quite experienced. We have a support team that can handle all the different requests. So I think what's next, we just have to keep building. We have to keep learning. We have to keep developing our application and the protocols that people are using, and using the data in the best way possible to ensure that we can make the best out of the situation and really help people. We're seeing some groundbreaking testimonials. We're doing our own research and have many research partners. So the next part is just to get this device out to more people.
I love it. So definitely check out Neuronic. And of course, well, stay tuned to the next episode of The Hardy Brain, the show that takes athletic, introverted entrepreneurs and leaders and transforms them into ironclad brain performers. Take care.